Good morning, Alpine. It's Wednesday, so it's time for our couples devotional. Today we're going to talk about love and beer. I'm sure you're interested to know what that's about. We'll get to that in a minute. We've been talking these last few Wednesdays about marriage principle number one, that love is a choice. It's not just a feeling. That as Christians, as followers of Jesus, we should be choosing love. It's not just about the mushy feelings of love. And we're looking at Ephesians chapter 5. In the last couple of weeks, we're sort of working ourselves up to the bottom of Ephesians 5, where Paul talks about couples specifically. But he starts off Ephesians 5 by saying that we should walk in the way of love just like Jesus did. And last week we talked about sexual purity. And today we're going to, as we're making our way to the end of Ephesians 5, we're going to look first at verse 8. He says, "For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord." And then he says, "Live as children of light." And then in verse 10 he says, "And find out what pleases the Lord." That's actually the verse we use in our foundations booklet, principle number one, that as Christians we find out what pleases God and do it. That's what we should be doing. That's how we should be living our lives. And he goes on in verse 15, he says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise." And he says, so don't be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. And there it is, verse 18, "Do not get drunk on wine, but instead be filled with the Spirit."
So practically then, as far as looking at this from a couple's perspective and looking at love is about choosing, we should choose to live in the light. You know, for some of you, you're probably sitting there thinking, oh man, I can give you a huge list of the things not to do. When I lived and walked in the darkness, I can tell you all the things that you shouldn't be doing. But learning how to live in the light and doing the things that, finding out what pleases God and wanting to do those, that takes a little bit more effort and concentration. So today then, practically what I want to say then is when Paul says, don't be foolish, make an evaluation in your lives as couples. When I meet with couples a lot, they talk about, we were married before we became Christians. And so it's hard to kind of make that transition from maybe some of the friends you hung out with and the things you used to do. Let's be specific, drinking. And you did a lot of that and you overindulged and it was fun and that's what you did. But now that you're Christians and learning how to walk in the light, okay, so now what does that mean? Well, what Paul says there, don't be foolish. Make an evaluation of what role that has played in your marriage. And if it's healthy and you can go and have a glass of wine or a beer and have a good time with a friend, great. But if it's something that you both have overindulged and have used that and that's become something that's been divisive in your marriage and has caused trouble, then make a choice to say, we're not going to let alcohol be something that holds us back from having a healthy marriage. So pay attention to those things and say, how do we walk more in the light as a married couple?
So there it is, love and beer. And encourage you to, in your prayer focus as you finish up today, is to pray for marriages at Alpine Church and also pray for your own marriage, but pray for other people's marriages as well, so that we can be light for people around us.